good to be able just to come today at Bakewell Market to share the work that I do as an agricultural chaplain, and also to get to know a friend of mine in his own capacity working in the rural area, Simon Lumby. I personally have been working as an agricultural chaplain for 10 years, and the market is a regular presence for me each Monday. In addition to that, I circulate around the area of particularly the High Peak, the Derbyshire Dales and the Amber Valley areas, working as an agricultural chaplain, doing visitation either by appointments or non-appointment basis, and seeking in all that I do to provide pastoral support to farmers, farming families, and farm employees and anybody else associated with the farming community.
Hello, I'm Simon Lumby. I'm the new Peak Park Rural Development Enabler. I've recently started in this role. One of the first things I chose to do was come and see my friend Graham Hinds, who's the agricultural chaplain for the area. Graham has involved a lot in the farming issues, and my remit is to include farming and many of the other issues that pertain to the rural communities, to be able to help the church to engage on whatever the issue might be relating to life within the Peak District National Park and the area around. Graham, tell me a little bit more about the way in which you engage with the farming community.
As I said on the introduction, via the Ministry of Presence, particularly at Bakewell, where I've been operating for 7 years, and then at Derby Livestock Market for the past 3 years. Just having a consistent presence. Here at Bakewell, I have a stand and a farmer's notice board, and provide 1 or 2 other facilities which draw farmers over to have a chat with me. I don't have that facility at the moment at Derby, but the commonality between both markets is circulating around and chatting to farmers and giving farmers an opportunity to have a listening ear. And as time has gone on, we've built confidence between each other. I have regular dialogue with farmers through this Ministry of Presence. And then I do a lot of what I call warm calling, just visiting farmers unannounced, just dropping in to say hello and how things are going. And I have to take things as I find them. Sometimes it might be 2 minutes, sometimes it might be in the kitchen for a drink and a piece of cake or whatever, and I might be there an hour or so. And then as time has gone on, and confidence is built with the ministry that I offer, which is an ecumenical ministry working with all the church denominations. As that confidence has been built, most of my time, generally speaking, outside of the market presence, is following up referrals and providing pastoral support in whatever way I can. And your own, Simon, we've starting to get to know each other.
That's right.
I think we're finding that our ministries are complementary, but if you could just let me know a little bit about what you're doing.
Yes, indeed. One of the issues that my ministry are finding is the way in which not just individual farmers, but the farming community as a whole have problems that they have to face. For instance, earlier in the year when there was a heavy snow at the beginning of the year, around here it was lambing season as well, and the dire situation that farmers found themselves in. Your ministry helping individual farmers cope with the emotional pressures of that. I foresaw the possibility that the churches in the rural communities throughout the Peak District, the Peak Park, would be able to engage in helpful ways with the farming industry as a whole in such a predicament as that. So whereas you would have that personal contact, we would be able to work together and bring in a more systematic and wider church-based reaction to an issue of that kind. So in terms of the reach, we've got a lot of churches in villages in the Peak Park. And those churches are looking for things to do to help.
Yeah.
And sometimes they feel thwarted because they don't necessarily understand where it is that the need arises.
Yes.
And that brings to mind the lovely story in the scriptures of Jesus meeting Bartimaeus, the blind man.
Yes.
And the particular thing that he says to Bartimaeus is, what is it you want me to do for you?
Yes.
Yeah. And the church is very good at finding out what it can do for people, but it's not necessarily asking the question that way round and saying to the people, what do you think we could do for you?
Yes.
And so that means that the churches themselves, the buildings themselves, become a resource for the community. So that's where my mind is moving in terms of outreach, to be able to help communities. And it's not just in the farming either, because if you think about the tourism, think about the commercial capacity of the area to regenerate income, and the housing situation, you know, the second homes issue and lack of affordable housing for young families. You could think of the transport situation, you could think of broadband. And the ways in which there isn't that capacity to create, you know, livelihoods for people. And farmers, of course, they need broadband now to fill in all their forms. So these kinds of issues are part of my remit. So whereas I can be here and assist you and help you get your message out and add to the work you do, I also am there for many other kinds of situations and people across the board. So one of the things I've been doing is connecting with the agencies, the people in the voluntary and the statutory sector who are trying to bring resources in. They can do it in a town because there's lots of people who know things are going on, there's lots of resources there. But in the villages, they're much poorer in terms of the capacity they have. And the church has two things that it can offer to people in these agencies. And the first is a public building in every village, or maybe even two. And the second thing is our members live in these communities. So they have those relationships and that insight. So from my point of view, it's essential that I cooperate with people who are working in your sector, in farming, and in all these other areas, to be able to say, what is it you think we can do for you? Because we're on the same agenda, we're on the same caring approach to, lifting up the well-being of people spiritually, emotionally, and in the context that they have.
What you've just shared sort of stimulates one or two other thoughts that I have. Yes, my work is largely on a one-to-one basis, and with that snow that came right at the end of March, and a number of sheep farmers in Derbyshire lost a lot of lambs. One example of how working together operates is that one of the members of the trading standards here at the market referred me to a farmer that they were concerned about. They had to visit because they had their job to do, but they were concerned about, and I provided pastoral support for that individual. On the back of that, like you rightly say, you're looking to work and connect with all the statutory and voluntary agencies. Over the years, I built that rapport to a point myself, and that particular individual needed further help beyond my skills base, so I was able to refer him to more specialised counselling for holistic care. And that's just one example, really. And I think it's great that we have an opportunity of taking these concerns back to church congregations, and whenever I'm circulating around the churches through different reasons, I would try to relay to them the kind of problems they are, either through newsletter or verbal communication. So it makes them prayerfully aware, which is important, but also practically aware too. And I can remember going back here 8 years, a couple of years after I was into my chaplaincy at the market, the Methodist Church district that operates in this area, the chair of district was in the area for 2 or 3 days, and they asked me to share with them for half an hour the work that I did, and I can remember congregating in one of the rooms here off the concourse of the market, and it was actually out of that communication and relationship building that they became more proactive in their personal pastoral care for farmers and their families, and also the annual farming service that I offer the first Sunday in November every year. That was a catalyst to bringing that together, and the Methodist Church and the other church denominations in the area are very supportive of that gathering.
That's great. I'm very pleased that you brought up the one word that means most to me in this work, and that is holism.
Yes.
The holistic nature of what we do.
Yes.
My role is created by the Methodist Church, but I have the remit to work with the Anglicans and the United Reformed Church and anybody really, any Christian presence at all within the Peak National Park. And the holistic point of view that we actually transcend our boundaries, and we make it possible to work together as Christians without discerning the flavour of our Christianity, and that we actually work holistically with all the other agencies and the capacity that's there to bring these resources to bear on the problems. That's all about being holistic, and it's not about discriminating, it's not about differentiating, it's actually saying we live in this land. As Christians we honour creation, but we should honour the fact that we live in it as well. This is a lived-in natural environment. So from that point of view, holism to me is crucial, absolutely vital.
There's a couple of other Christian-based organisations that play a part in complementing the work of you and I. One is the work of the Farming Community Network, and which is a Christian-based organisation with county groups, and in Derbyshire there are 10 volunteers that give themselves to the referrals that come in and share the load on that. And equally they would do as much as they're able to do with their experience and skills base, and then signpost on if need be. And the other network in the county is the Agricultural Christian Fellowship, which draws Christian farmers and their families from across the denominations. ACF, as that is called, is an environment where social interaction can take place, which is vitally important for the well-being of individuals. So they come into that environment on the meetings and events that are put on, but they feel confident too to bring others into that as well, which is very much a stepping stone between to the church really, as a bridge. And Derbyshire is rich in those kind of organisations, as well as the statutory and the voluntary organisations, which we've both said, making up a provision for holistic care for the individual. Fantastic.
That's great. Thank you, Graham. I appreciate it.
And we will meet again and learn more from each other.
Bless you.
And work together, of course.
Indeed we will.